Hi, everybody. I'm intuitive medium Sandy Duncan, and please help me welcome my genius rescue medium friends, Michael Lamport, Edna Dargie, Alison Wynne-Ryder, and Jackie Dennison. Hi, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Our first one of the year. First one of the year is always exciting.
Yes.
We'll see how we go.
Yeah.
So today we're going to just dive right in and talk about the land. On almost every episode of Rescue Mediums, the land was significant. And this is just going to be like a multifaceted look at the part that the land played. Edna, with your research and with the rescue and with the crew, Michael, and, you know, I would love to get started with the original land. And without this, there may not have been a Rescue Medium show. Can Jackie and Michael talk about that?
Sure. I live in a house in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and it was built at around the turn of the century. And I was in the TV business at the time, doing different things like documentaries and things like that, and also acting in that. And then a woman who lives on the west coast of Canada, which is a long way, phoned me or emailed me, I don't remember now, and asked me if I had any information about my house. And I said to her, not wanting to be a bad neighbor, even though we're like 3,000 miles apart, I sent her the information that I had, photographs and land information and everything like that. Anyway, to shorten it all down a bit, it went that she Googled me and found out I was in the TV business, and I was interested possibly in doing something around the paranormal. And she mentioned that she had, I think it was cousin, right, Jackie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she had a cousin in England whose name was Jackie Dennison. And, you know, she was a full-fledged medium and psychic, and I should contact her. So, you know, as one does, I said, yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. But then I felt that I had to call her about a week after or 2 weeks after that conversation. And I did. And Jackie and I introduced each other. This was years ago now, and to ourselves. And I told her where I lived, and Jackie said that, oh yeah, that's fantastic. Do you know that my great great uncle built your house? And I said, what? And she said, yeah, he actually built the house, and he was married to his wife, Perdita, and they lived in it for a long time. But then, you know, sadly, he passed away in a car accident just north of me here. And then Jackie said, he's still there. And of course I went, what? What do you mean it's still here? She said, oh, no, he's still in the house. He's looking after it. He likes you. And I was then, you know, right away, like anybody, because I hadn't really got involved in it that much, you know, you're looking around going, okay, so he's here. Where is he? And then that just started the relationship between Jackie and I. And then we went and shot a demo. I think that's about right, isn't it, Jackie?
It's sort of right, yeah.
Okay, what I got wrong?
Jean, who you are talking about, who is my cousin, she, of course, lives in Canada, but we were researching the same family. It's family history, and we were researching the same family. And Jean and I found each other not having known of each other's existence. Because we were researching the same family. And so I took part of the family, she took the other part of the family. And as she was in Canada, I was looking for my great grandfather. That's how this started. Never did find him. I think he's drowned somewhere. Never did find him, but found his brother, and his brother is the one that built your house.
Right.
So yeah, so that's how it all started out through family history. But I really believe that my great uncle Oliver, he's the one that wanted us to meet, because there's so much of this, even to the point of, do you remember finding when you having alterations done in your kitchen, Michael?
Oh, yeah.
And there were
The newspapers from
articles, from 1917.
Yeah.
That only have been put there by
Oliver. That's right, because at that time they would stuff walls for insulation with their current newspapers. So Oliver must have put them there.
Yeah.
And then the only other weird anecdote, Sandy, I'd add to this before we go on, is that I have a cat, and I named my cat Oliver after Jackie's great uncle. So now when in the house, when I call, hey Oliver, I hope I'm not being rude to Oliver, but you never know who's going to show up.
No.
It could be the cat, it could be Oliver.
So because of that connection, when you and Jackie met, Michael, did you feel instantly that you had known each other for a long time already?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was. It was like, yeah, because initially it was what one would call a cold call, and but it wasn't. It is almost like we sort of expected each other to meet. It was sort of like in the destiny,
Wow.
Yeah. We're related through great uncle Oliver. That's Michael feels like family, not just Rescue Mediums family, but Michael feels like family to me.
Yeah.
You were talking a lot about the land, and Alison and Jackie, I think that Edna probably has some really interesting things to say about that, because she is the one that does the primary research into where we're going.
Yeah.
So, Edna.
Okay. Well, often the place was identified first, and the homeowners. And that was done in a number of ways, whether they wrote into the network asking for help, or whether one of us went and knocked on a door and said, "You look as though you need help." and they comply. But as soon as I had an address, that's where the research really started. Before I even met the people or found out anything about it, I would start right away and get as much information as I could broadly, in terms of a large area around the property. It could be, almost provincially, and then narrowing it in to get the history and understand exactly what happened there, because you never knew where it would go, where the story would go, and who or what was affecting the homeowners, and narrowing it down right down to the actual property itself. And then I would go back to the Crown land, usually around 1800 in Ontario, where the grants were given out. And I would start to map out anyone that owned that property through time up to the present. And then I would go through each one of those and try to research a family tree on them and gather as much information.
Wow.
So that was my starting point, usually, with the research.
So intricate, though. I mean,
Yeah, because I mean, so then Edna comes to the table, as it were, with all of this verified research about things, places, names, and everything And Jackie and Alison, who always have no idea really where they're going.
No.
I mean, they know they're going to land somewhere in Canada. And then they do their psychic research into the area, and that's when we sort of see, as we say in the show, often we just sort of see what matches up.
Mhm.
So that's and that's really interesting.
But it's so emotional, isn't it, Michael? I
Oh.
mean, Edna, I'm sure, knowing you, that as you're going through your research, you might feel like things sort of triggering or going off or making sense or getting, that kind of inside feeling. And then you can't tell anybody, you gotta throw the key away and wait for it to bloom.
Yeah, the whole crew and Edna and myself and my business partner, we're all sworn to silence about where we're going around Jackie and Alison. And the only threat that we offer is if you say anything, then you're likely to be a subject of the next episode. So that's sort of a threat without it really being a threat. No, we don't say that.
I like that a lot.
But from our point of view, we don't want to know in advance anything, because then that puts an idea in your head, as you've got that perceived idea. So it's a lot more fun for us if we don't know anything in advance. So we have no idea where we're going. We have no idea what we're going to find when we get there. We don't know why the homeowners have contacted the show, except that they obviously have some sort of a problem with spirit.
And we like surprises, don't we?
We do, yeah.
Yeah, that comes across very strongly in the show.
It was always a lot of fun keeping the information from you, and I took great joy in driving along and just seeing connections with your premonitions, and I would start connecting the dots as we're going along, and I just loved. Oh, I know what that's all about. I know what that's all about.
I guess that's sort of a psychological, that's a feeling of being in control.
Could be.
I mean, you were a teacher and a principal, and so headmaster, headmistress, and so control is good, I guess.
I think back to the episode that took place in Bath. That was sort of land specific, or it really had an unbelievable twist. Edna, if I was you, I would have been jumping out of my chair at the end of this one, because I've never seen an episode. Well, they were all wrapped up nicely with a bow at the end, but this one had like two bows for me because of the situation of the homeowners. But Michael and Edna, do you recall when you met, I believe it's Leanne and Willie, and hearing that they had always had, or Leanne had always had, haunted house experiences?
Yeah.
It's interesting that you're asking about the homeowners having had prior experiences. And Leanne had, and I'm not sure this came out in the show at all, but she had as a child a near-death experience where she'd almost drowned when she was 5 years old. And I'm not sure how much that affects someone's psychic ability, their what happens to their development when it happens early in their life. And then later, when she was a teenager, she had a horrendous experience with a Ouija board where she actually dared to connect with the devil. And it's a devastating experience for years through her teenage, the results of that.
Wow.
Yeah,
I don't remember that. Did you, Jackie? No, I don't remember that at all. I don't remember the experience of, as a child, nearly drowning.
all the Ouija board and the
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Mind you,
you're
she's
right.
not going to share that with us, is she?
No.
Really, when you think about it, you know, we were there to, you know, to help
At the
you through.
time, of course, as I'm gathering information and getting information from Leanne, that's where I start speculating. Well, I wonder if that's the reason that there are problems in the house and so on. So I just kind of filed away that information as a possibility of something that might be impacting on what was happening.
Was that typical for someone who might be on the Rescue Medium show?
It wasn't necessarily typical. It was frequent, but it wasn't. You know, we interviewed a lot of people that just didn't know what was going on, and they were quite skeptical about what it might be. But then when Jackie and Alison, for example, not confront them, but tell them certain names and things like that, then you see them sort of being a bit gobsmacked, going like, oh my God, how did you know that about my uncle or about my, you know, my aunt or whatever it was? So, yeah, usually the people that we interview, obviously they have had experiences that they cannot explain and usually do not like occurring in their home.
Oh, yeah.
It's not always a rescue situation, you see. It might be that the spirit just has something to say or wants to make that connection, or if they are trapped, that we help them to go over. But if they want to visit, as long as it's okay with both, then you know that happens. I think in that particular episode, one of the spirits that we encountered, wasn't she Leanne's guide? Didn't she turn out to be Leanne's guide?
Yes.
Spirit guide.
Spirit guide. Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lovely lady stood right in front of us. And she's holding her hands out like that. She's with Leanne. I think she's a guide. Elizabeth.
Didn't she used to live on the land, Edna? In that
She lived on the island where Leanne and Willie were going to buy a home.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's right. There's a connection there.
Yeah.
Which was a surprise to us all that came out in the show and tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once they found out who it was and where Elizabeth and her husband had lived.
You could see somebody who was drawing, Alison. And
her
husband
artist.
was an artist, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And her name was Elizabeth Gale.
Elizabeth Gale was born in 1811 in England. As the daughter of a prominent British diplomat, her life was one of privilege.
I got an image of someone drawing like an artist. I could see somebody drawing or painting.
She met and married a young artist by the name of Daniel Fowler.
On August the 6th, 1835, Elizabeth married Daniel Fowler. Plagued with respiratory illness, Daniel was advised to leave the polluted air of 19th century London. Together, the couple relocated to Canada, settling on nearby Amherst Island.
When we were looking for houses, one of the houses we looked at was an old heritage home.
On Amherst Island.
On Amherst
We were drawn
really?
to the island. We wanted to live there so badly. Then that house, oh my goodness, that house.
This is where they lived. There on Amherst Island.
That's the house.
You are joking.
That's the house.
That's the house.
That's the house.
Oh my God. We think that's Elizabeth in the garden.
Oh.
The rescue mediums believe that the spirit of Elizabeth attached herself to Leanne at a young age and has served as her spirit guide ever since.
We nearly fell off our chairs, Alison, didn't we?
Yeah, just amazing. Talk about synchronicity in its finest form. That was again meant to be, you know.
When we were there getting that information, we were being given that information. It unfolded as we were as we were actually physically talking to the homeowners, telling them what we'd uncovered, and that sort of, we're still uncovering it whilst we were doing that. While we were talking to them. How did you feel when that was sort of still unfolding?
Yeah, that's exciting when you continually get the confirmation of what we've researched, what we found, and the rescue. It's when it all comes together.
It was really tight.
Really cool.
Yeah, and the other thing that sort of came out that was still carried on unfolding as well, is that we'd encountered some really nasty spirits there. Evil, totally evil.
Horrible.
Spirits. I think it's probably one of the nastiest ones that we've ever encountered, or ever had to deal with. I mean, poor Alison was completely overshadowed in that one, weren't you? It was awful. It was awful to watch.
I was trying to talk to you, but they took over. I, without being awful, and this is exactly how it was, I felt them crawling all over my skin.
Don't let it communicate with you. Alison. Alison. Okay. Come on. You've got to get back here right now.
And I was trying to sort of answer Jackie, and they took over. I just couldn't speak. And it's like I had no control over my mouth for the first time ever in my life. But I think the worst thing for me was the first one, that was really strong, and you can feel that negative influence. And then I thought that was it. And then a second one came, and each time I became weaker and weaker. And then a third one came, and I just remember after saying, I don't think I can do this anymore.
Right now.
I can't do this. I can't do this.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
I don't want to do this anymore.
There's one more to go. Okay.
It frightened me so much. And for me, I would say in the whole of the 2 seasons that I did, that was the scariest. That was the scariest one. It was horrendous. They were evil, the three of them. They connected to the inn where she worked.
That's the thing. You see, that's the thing that unfolded during the show and tell. That again blew us away. Is I think on your premonitions you'd had a connection to an inn.
But why were the dark spirits attached to the homeowners? Jackie and Alison believe the answer lies with one of their premonitions.
I had an inn on my premonitions. An inn.
I used to work actually at an historic inn downtown.
Right.
And it was a very haunted inn.
Oh.
Where the inn was, it used to be the old Gallows of the city of Kingston.
Oh my God. Oh.
Built in 1858, the Frontenac County Jail was located in nearby Kingston. A gallows built on the grounds was the execution site for many of the country's most dangerous criminals.
And this is what was on that place where the inn was. So it's like, oh my God, we're learning that. That's unfolding,
And sometimes ignorance is bliss. I think if I'd have known that beforehand, I'd have skipped that one. I'd have stayed in bed, Michael, and not gone on that one.
I mean, the land really had an impact, twofold with that, with that particular episode. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Alison, what you should do is you should ask your husband, John, if he wants me to give him the name of that spirit that controlled what you were saying.
No, don't. He might take you up on that, Michael. I wouldn't be right.
I know, he probably would.
Oh dear, I don't know. But yeah, that was the scariest one. I really needed a cheers after that one, I tell you. Yeah, well, we both did. Because Jackie, you really had your work cut out. I mean, that must have been horrendous for you. And thank goodness that her spirit guide came forward, the spirit guide to help us. We needed a helper in that one. And of course, our respective spirit guides know that. And it was Archangel Michael that came forward to help with that.
Yeah.
I sent an inward, I couldn't speak physically, but inwardly, I'm still trying to hold on to me. And that was the worst, you know, trying to keep myself as me. And then I sent a silent message out to the angels and said, you know, Archangel Michael, please come forward and help with this.
No. Nice image.
Okay. Okay.
I can see angels swing.
Good. 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 Good.
Yeah. Which in itself is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, because of what we were dealing with.
Yeah.
And then we found out what we were dealing with, because he's the patron saint of policemen and soldiers, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
You know, so he was the perfect person to come in, or the perfect angel to come in to help us to deal with that, knowing what we knew, that, well, yes, the place of executions.
Yeah, our warrior angel coming in, and
that spirit team for you, you see.
Yes. Well, they'll call on whoever they feel extra that needs to come in. You know, like us, if we need help, we ask other people for help. Yeah. So they will call on other energies, other energy forms to come in and assist. So Leanne's spirit guide came forward, and Archangel Michael, as well as our respective guides as well.
Yeah. And do you know what? One of the other things that I really liked about how the research was so powerful in that, because Edna does these amazing family trees.
Oh, yeah.
So that we can show the homeowners, oh, this is this person, this is what, you know, this makes sense. And Edna had done the family tree of Elizabeth, the spirit guide, because we'd had enough information to know who she was. She told us enough information to know who she was and who she'd married to. And then the editors brilliantly brought in, when the family tree was shown, brought in a photograph of Elizabeth and then a photograph of her husband, Daniel, that on this family tree. It was really very, very effective.
On August the 6th, 1835, Elizabeth married Daniel Fowler.
So Sandy, as a viewer watching that particular episode, what sort of impacted you with either with the show and tell, or, you know, how it all came together? What impacted you?
I remember this episode more for the level of nervousness I had the minute Leanne said she was always around haunted houses. I'm like, oh no, now what's going to happen? But the rescue of the three evil spirits, what I took to heart was what Alison was going through. I was terrified for Alison, but what really struck me was, Jackie, you never took your eye off Alison.
No.
Not for a second.
No.
Not for a breath, not for a second, not for anything. And I thought, boy, everybody in that room, which was one of the questions I had for Edna and Michael, what was it like to be in the room? Because I know Jackie and Alison, you were in the moment doing your work, but to be on the outside of that, what was that like?
I was on an exercise ball in a closet nearby.
Oh, you were?
Oh, wow.
Just around the corner. And I have the monitor, a visual monitor, and the earphones on so that I can see and hear everything. I think it's important to know that it took a long time, not just the 3 or 4 minutes you're seeing on the screen.
Yes.
It did take a very long time.
Yeah.
And I was certainly, this was one of the scariest ones for me too. I always trust that both of you are so protected and everything is going to be fine. But on this one, I had moments where, oh my gosh, this is a little too close for comfort.
Yeah.
I felt that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, obviously, whenever we, as the first-hand witnesses of what's going on as the crew films. Of course, our concern is obviously for Jackie and for Alison. But one of the things about it is as it happens, it's so fascinating to watch. But if it ever got to a point where some physical harm could come to them, obviously we would go out of our way, obviously, to stop it. But it's just so, it's so fascinating to be in the physical room where this happens. It's TV can't show the actual energy that you feel.
Yeah.
And it's so strong.
Yeah. Yeah, but the energy in that room must have been pulsating, mustn't it? But Edna's right. And how long, I mean, I don't know sort of how long exactly it went on for, but for me it felt like forever.
Yeah.
Have you got it there, Edna? I think Edna's got it.
Yeah, I'm looking at the transcript. I have my written transcript of the actual rescue. And
Wow.
so there's 10 pages here.
My gosh.
And so I write down every word that you say back and forth.
Yeah.
And again, there's so much here that's not on camera.
Yeah. I seem to remember saying, don't let them tell you their story. Don't even listen to their stories. And that's one of the very few times where we wouldn't listen to what that spirit entity was saying, because obviously we need to unravel a story. We need to find out why they're there.
Well, that gives them power then if you do.
And we couldn't. I just knew from what I was being told by my guide is, do not try and communicate with them. Do not try and listen to them. Just contain them and we'll get them over.
Okay, so we'll just wait a minute.
Jackie and Alison now focus their energies upon the third dark spirit.
Tell me when you're grounded again. Don't communicate with it.
I'm not communicating.
Don't communicate.
No.
Wow, is
One of those memorable ones.
Very memorable. Yeah, one of the, I think, I'm just talking about Edna being sitting in a cupboard sitting on an exercise ball. we were actually, when we were doing the walkabout in the house, because it's not a big house, it's a gorgeous house, but, because obviously Leanne and Willie are gorgeous people, so their energy is there, which is lovely. Yeah. And we walked around and sort of like, oh, what's in this? Here, is this another room? So we opened the door and there's Edna sat on this exercise ball with the headset, with her pencil writing down. And walked away and carried on as if nothing had happened, as if she wasn't
exactly.
Those were the last light moments before it got nasty. Yeah. And I remember with that one afterwards, after the rescue was done, Jackie and Alison, we got together and we went and walked by a creek.
I remember that.
Yes. And it was still the impact of that rescue was so powerful, I think. It just to try and get grounded and just be there in nature and try to get
that helped a lot.
Yeah.
Well, as a viewer, thank you for that episode. I learned so much, and now I learned so much today now too.
Yeah, we've all learned. Yeah.
And you know what else was on the land as well? The bath.
Oh,
do you remember? The chairs was in the bath on an island.
After such a grueling investigation, they feel the need to wash those ghosts right out of their hair.
That has to be one of the strongest rescues I think that we've ever done.
I felt I wasn't with it at one point. I was taken over.
I know.
We sent them on the way.
I've got a rhyme for you.
Oh, go on.
Rub-a-dub-dub, two mediums in a tub.
Hey.
And that's really significant.
Okay, why is that significant?
Because we're in a bath.
Cheers.
Oh, that was a fun chase. That was a real
It was.
And do you know what? We needed that fun chase after the stress of
did.
that episode.
So did.
Absolutely. And we should do a cheers right now.
Yes. And to us and to everybody else that's watching.
To everybody else that's watching.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.
If you enjoyed watching Behind the Scenes, please like, share and subscribe to veryparanormal.com, the portal for everything paranormal, where you can watch every episode of Behind the Scenes and every episode of Rescue Mediums, plus so much more. And it's absolutely free. Well, you can't get much better than that. Cheers.